Hey there, my name is Matt Gluskowski, and I wanted to give you a quick introduction to what you're about to see here. So one of the benefits of On OnePlus is we do photo critiques, and from start to finish, we critique the entire photo from the actual composition and exposure and everything, all the way to the post-processing. So it's a complete review of the photo. And Hudson and I, we take a lot of pride in that we've gotten to every single photo that's been submitted. All right, and we do video for every one of them, but since everybody can't watch everything, after every critique we do a recap where we take about 20 photos, photos that we just think are good learning experiences. So it's not better, it's not worse, it's not favorites, it's not anything like that. It's just photos we think are good learning experiences that we want to make sure everybody gets to see. So it's shorter, it's a lot easier to go through and watch. That's the video that you're about to see here. So if you want to find out more about Plus, just go to onone.com/plus. You can find out all about it. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our On OnePlus critique recap. Hudson Henry is on the line with me. Say hi, Hudson.
Hey everybody.
Everybody can't say hi to us, but we're recording this ahead of time. But I can feel the hellos in the air. So real quick before we jump into this, guys, for anybody watching this that's not part of On OnePlus, one of the benefits of On OnePlus is we have photo critiques where we go through all these and review everybody's photos. We've gone through literally probably over 1,000 photos in the last month or two.
Yeah, at
But
least.
it's been awesome, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's been fun to watch how they've been improving month to month. It's crazy.
So cool. So if you want to get in on it, if you're watching this, On OnePlus members are allowed to submit their photos. We're doing this for the public to kind of, you can kind of go in there. We just went through, we each picked 10 photos that we thought were good learning moments, and we just wanted to talk about them a little bit. So it's not better, it's not worse photos, it's not anything. It's just things that we thought were good moments that everybody could benefit from, and we wanted to make sure everybody saw. So we'll go ahead and get started here. This one actually came from my group. And what I said was it. So many times we're kind of like pounding into people's heads. Get out there at the right time of day. Get out there at the right time of day. And I think you got out there at the right time of day for this. Great sky, great clouds. Beautiful color. And then what I would say to this is so and camera technique is fine. It's sharp. It's good. It's fine. What I would say to this one would just be, I think we need to start to get out there to a better place now. Because when I look at this, like, I don't know if it's an apartment complex. I almost can't really tell what it is, but it's not necessarily a captivating place that really takes advantage of this great light that you had. So, we're going to want to see palm trees. We're going to want to get out to the beach, get out to something that might showcase this great light a little bit better.
So yeah, another little more compelling subject, and also maybe not cropping the palm trees at the top that
Yeah,
way too.
exactly. Wow. Nice shot.
Yeah, I love this one. It has this kind of otherworldly look to it, and the person who submitted this one asked whether they thought that it was a problem violating the rule of thirds, and I said this is one of those great shots that violates the rule of thirds and does it with aplomb. It's really nicely composed, and I think that the framing with the trees really works to put the subject in the center here, and just using that backlight. I talk a lot about that in the lessons on the OnePlus site, the lesson on light and using light in the landscape, and the fact that backlight's so dramatic. I mean, here you got this close encounters kind of feel. And I'd say, the only real critique I'd give is maybe pulling just a little bit more shadow detail out around the feet, because they're kind of disappearing into the trail, and I'm sure that with just the pull of a couple of sliders and enhance or Lightroom's develop module, we could get just a little more detail around the feet, but I just love the image.
My thoughts exactly. Great, just awesome image. I really like that one. All right, so this one was from my group. This is Acadia, and so many times I think we try to get out there, and I know in my photography career, like I used to look for, I want clear sunny weather, and the more I've gotten into photography, the more I'm looking for stormy, atmospheric, cloudy type of weather. I don't want socked in blah, but this is just such great atmosphere. So would it look nice on a beautiful, sunny, colorful morning? It would. It'd be a great shot, but I still think it's a great shot like this. I love the fog, so I know sometimes people see that and they might not even go out and photograph, but to me, The mood for this is perfect. If I had any little thing to say, I might crop a little bit off of the top here. We're a bit centered here, which isn't a huge problem, but I might have cropped a little bit from the top, and I might have pointed the camera down a little bit more, and that would have done it in camera versus trying to do it afterward. And then the only other thing I said is maybe work around this area. Use a polarizer to get rid of some of those reflections and work around this area to simplify some of the foreground. We've got a lot of rocks here, and I think if we found an area with maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 rocks, we could have a little bit more of a calming photo that really worked with the fog that we have here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love the mood.
Wow, great shot.
Yeah, this one just it has this just beautiful composition of these trees. I love how the fall color makes it feel like there's just a fire in the background or spun gold, and it kind of, this is one of those scenes that's very difficult to capture when you're out in the chaos of a forest like this. And I think that, the photographer did a great job, just spatially laying these elements out. I love kind of having a weight of trees in the right kind of third of the frame. You've got this
Absolutely.
one big tree in the left third of the frame that your eye kind of goes back and forth between those two. And yeah, this, I don't know, I didn't see in the posting whether this was a panoramic merger or not. I kind of hope this is a panoramic merger and that this is printed someplace really big on someone's wall. I don't have a whole lot to add about what I could improve about this photo, but I think that it's the kind of thing to look for when you're out in the chaos, is finding some order within it and some structure and honing in on that, and if this was a bright sunny day coming through here, which it very likely was, if you'd taken an image with sky in it, it may not have worked at all. You might have had too much contrast. And so honing in on this evenly lit section of the trees and open shade is just spectacular.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I was thinking the same thing. I hope this is printed big I think on metal would look gorgeous.
Amazing.
Somebody's living room with like right on a blue wall or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
imagine it. Yeah, absolutely.
if I offered one tiny, and don't even take this as a critique. It's just an idea. I'd love to see it shot a little bit more shallow depth of field, and
Yeah.
I can't even guarantee I'd like the shot more, but hopefully when they did it, experiment, shoot it a little shallow, shoot it, with, not quite as shallow, but great shot.
And I think that's a great piece of advice, and I remember you and I being out in the Alvord and talking about that. You don't necessarily, you don't want to shoot the scene at every aperture that your camera's capable of, but opening up and doing something with a little shallower depth of field so that your foreground elements really stand out,
Yeah.
and then making sure that you capture it with everything sharp. Maybe using live view and being very, very careful with your focusing, like this
Yeah.
person obviously did.
Yeah.
It's a good
Great shot.
idea. Yeah.
Great shot. Okay. So the next photo here, I'm going to change my sort order really quick. Um, so the next photo here and the next one after is actually from the same person. And we actually saw the photo after in the last critique. So this was in my group, and I know you critiqued the next photo in yours last time, Hudson. So I don't
Right.
even want to talk too much about it. The big thing that I had to say was I look at this photo, I see great light, I see really solid composition. I see great post processing. I mean, it's got a little bit of an artistic type of a swirl type of a filter to it, which is fine. It actually to me kind of works for the photo with the feathers and everything. Not everything has to be purely photographic. Um, Great lighting, great post processing, great everything. And then the next photos from the same photographer. And so I just see a disconnect here. I see so many things done well here, choice of subject, everything, and then I see the backside of a bird in
Yeah.
harsh daylight with I don't think a really well processed frame around it. And then if you look, there's obviously some brushing that went on here, but there's glow around the whole thing, so that brushing was missed in some key areas.
Yeah, not
Besides
masked perfectly.
besides that, it's the backside of a bird. So I don't think this photo is going to captivate people. I think that photo does.
Absolutely.
So Just I thought it was an interesting thing that it doesn't look like the same photographer to me, but it indeed was. So pretty interesting. Go with whatever you did on Here More.
Absolutely.
This one was in mine too. I know sometimes we get out there, we're hiking around and we see these overlooks and we're like, wow, this is beautiful. And sometimes it's okay to almost sit in there and take in the scenery a little bit. This is a tough scene to bring to other people. There's a lot of non good looking brush and everything in the front of the photo. I don't know that, to me, some of the star of the scene, which is some of what's going on out here, is kind of minimized in this photo. And then we're out there in some not great light, and I think all those things put together make it a difficult photo to kind of get to that next level.
Yeah, it suffers from some chaos and not really having great light.
Yeah. Hudson.
Love this one. And I wanted to say to the photographer of this particular image and use it as an illustration that sometimes you see multiple elements in the landscape and you think you want to capture the moon, you want to capture the bird, you want to capture the tree. Just moving your body, your camera, your tripod, and finding a way to organize those elements in the frame can really make or break a photograph. I mean, under normal circumstances, this is a dead tree. It might even, have a dead tree with a bird in it, but placing that full moon there just really alters the whole thing, and it's all because the photographer moved to the right place.
And I'm opening this up, Hudson. I'm just going to. Hold on. I was just gonna take a real quick look at what this might have. Here, let's take it in.
Looked like in. Wait, what are we?
Part of me wants to see it. Oh, you know what? I'm cut off from. There we go. I'm like, I know there's a crop tool somewhere here. Part of me just would love to see. Part of me would love to see what this looked like if you had a zoom lens.
Oh yeah, and cropped. Yeah. Oh, I thought about that too.
We can't do it with our resolution, but I like the before photo too. But that's a really strong shot as well.
Yeah, very, very strong image. It depends on what focal length you've got with you. I understand we don't always have a long enough lens to pull that off, but that would be phenomenal to really, really fill the frame with the moon, the bird, and the branches. But I think, just a great job of recognizing that organizing those elements properly in space can really add to the composition and putting it in the right spot in the frame that the photographer used.
Yeah. I think that one was yours too.
Yeah, and this is in Iceland. Matt just got back from a trip to Iceland.
I was in this exact same location about 1 week ago today.
Nice. Yeah, I remember.
I didn't have all the icebergs though.
Yeah, those crystalline ice chunks in the water there are so fascinating, and I can see that you're kind of organizing it with these 3 pieces of ice in the foreground. I think that there's a couple of things about this one that I'd love to see done slightly differently. You're going for a long exposure, and I remember that the exposure information showed you were photographing this at maybe f20, somewhere around there. It was a really fine aperture with maybe a second shutter speed or something like that. And I was thinking that if you were carrying a neutral density filter with you, say a 10 stop or a 7 3/2 stop neutral density filter, you could really slow that down more and get a little more mystery flowing around those chunks of ice. And it might break up a little of the white water that's washing around them, because I think that the white water of the surf coming in sort of drowns out the beautiful clear white ice of these foreground elements. So those would be 2 big points. The only other point would be time of day and maybe trying to get out there when the light is at its optimum at dawn or at sunset. But I like what you're doing with the foreground elements and giving us these 3 beautiful chunks of ice to kind of rest our eyes on. I think they just get a little drowned out by the whitewash.
Yeah. So to give you a little quick backstory about this, Hudson, I know you haven't been here, have you?
No, I haven't.
So I had the same weather that this person had. I think I got there at the end of the day and it was just blah. Everything was blah. It's just this time of year.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting is these are all moving. You actually have
Mm.
to be pretty careful because the surf is so strong that you're not watching to the side and behind you, and these guys that are over here can actually wash up, and I mean they're big, dude. They'll hurt you. But they're actually moving, so it's pretty interesting. It's a very interesting place that there's a lagoon back here that flows out into the ocean, and then tide brings these up onto the shoreline.
So there's a big glacier calving in back there, and these are
Yeah.
rolling around. Yeah,
And
that
there's a
makes
nice
sense.
ice lagoon that you can photograph too that's got more still water. So really, really neat place.
Very cool. This is another one
Yosemite.
of mine. Yep, Yosemite. A beautiful composition, just peaceful. You're out there at the right time of day, and it's one of those situations where you're in a deep canyon. I don't know if this is dawn or if this is sunset, but that good light, the sun has gone low behind the canyon wall by the time the light gets really good. And if you've got clouds, it can work magnificently, but on those clear sky days, it can be a little tough with the light. I think you did a great job composing this. What I'm noticing in this image is just how beautiful the reflection in the water is.
Hmm.
And as I look at it, I wonder, if there's a way to compose this with a little less sky, a little more focus on the reflection that's happening in the water amongst these rocks, maybe simplifying the foreground a little bit and finding a reflection of that blue sky and the last light on the rocks, and maybe find a way to frame that with some of the last light hitting the tops of the trees and less sky. And the other thing I would say is that I think in post-processing you might be able to cut that contrast down a little bit, pull out a little more shadow detail, and pull the highlights back a little bit creatively to improve just the tonal range in this particular shot.
I think a brush, like a darkening brush, could probably pull a lot of that back.
I think so. But great way to be out there and way to compose that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nice shot.
This is another one of mine, and again, this is an interesting one. It's the reflection on the water that really catches my eye in this scene. And I know Matt and I are constantly kind of grinding on you guys about let's find an interesting foreground element. And I see that you've got these rocks from some kind of a jetty or a rocky coastline, sort of at the bottom edge of the frame. But it's a little chaotic, and they're not really a strong enough element to ground me as a viewer looking into this image. And I also find the buildings on either side of the frame, being cut in half or a little bit distracting, and they're not the magnificent building that I'm seeing further out over the water. And also, sort of the nicest part of the sky is up above that building, and you've got this trifecta here for me photographically of the water being rippled by wind in a way that's reflecting this really gorgeous sky in a really interesting way. You've got these beautiful abstract patterns on the water. It's smoothly and evenly lit. The surface isn't quite broken by the wind, but it's just got this great texture. And I'd love to see you, drill into this a little bit with a longer lens and get that beautiful building with the trees growing out of the roof and the water in the foreground with the sky, and really fill the frame with those three elements.
Yeah. Real pretty shot. I agree with you. I love that water up front too.
Beautiful.
This was one of mine. I just, you know, I love this photo. I'm a beach guy, and there's so many things I love about this photo. I love number one. I have to say I love the post processing. I love the color toning that you gave to this.
Hmm.
I think I even know what filter it is in effects. I think it's under the urban one, but it's just got such a neat color to it that I don't see a lot that really works for this. I love how you got the foam coming up here, and it's just got that. It's got all those nice kind of angles and everything, and I see just enough sand in the foreground here. You didn't look straight out where there's a line of foam coming across the bottom. It's angled
Yep.
in, and I think that's such an important part. A great sky, really nice sky. Love the sun, love the warm feeling, the flare coming off of there. Only thing I would say to this is I'd love to see you work this area of rocks a little bit differently, and maybe include that in the foreground as well. Maybe point your camera down a little bit more. You're shooting wide, you'll still get a lot of that beautiful sky in there, but I mean, maybe even crop, or even right now, crop a little bit of that off. But overall, I just think really nice beach shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sky is so beautiful. I see why you kept the frame split in the center, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I think it could get a little more dramatic, cropped a bit.
And all that said, Hudson, I think you'll agree with me. Print this hanging on your wall. Nobody's going to care. It's a gorgeous photo. I don't
Beautiful.
care that it's cut in half. I think these are all things to help improve, but it's a gorgeous photo. Hang it up.
I really like the way it blends from yellow to blue, left to right.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
nice there?
Mhm. Yeah, it's nice.
All right. So we got a bird shot here. This was in mine. Really, I thought everything was just well done here. Good camera technique, good composition. I mentioned I would have cropped it a little bit off of the bottom, especially if you wanted to print this with a normal frame like an 8x10. You'll never be able to use all that. You're gonna have to crop it.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, everything was well done, nice post processing, nice everything. To me, the biggest thing that was holding me back is that the timing of the wing covering the face.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a big bird photographer, so it's tough for me. But it's just I kind of almost think of it as a person. It's like I want to see the eyes, I want to see the face, and
Yeah.
so just my thoughts for what they're worth.
And it's tough. I've photographed hummingbirds a little bit, not not seriously, but at my grandmother's house, they used to come to these feeders, and they were in a beautiful garden area, and they're tricky because they move so fast.
Yeah,
And I understand enjoying seeing how that wing stretches forward and the shape, but it is tough to connect with a beast or a human if you can't see their face. And hummingbirds have such cute faces; it really adds to the photo.
yeah. This was another one of mine. You're out there at the right time of day, great light. You found a nice subject. Um, my biggest thing on this was just I challenged this person that to me the star of the show was this.
Yep.
And the light and the contrast of the shadow and the golden light on here, to me this was the star of the show. So I challenged this person not only to zoom in, because I don't know that zooming in was the answer, but to walk around this building and find a place to showcase this a little bit better. I don't know if you can, but this is what I want to see really take up this photo rather than all this other stuff that we got down here.
Yeah, definitely. At least to tilt up and or crop off the base because it's a little bit distracting, the building itself and the trees down in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. But beautiful building. Woof.
Yeah. This was another one of mine. I said to this person, I'm jealous because I don't see scenes like this when I'm out there. And I love it. So simple. You're at the beach. It's so common. You grab a wide angle lens and you're going to go down to the water or something like that and find a palm tree. But to me, I don't see scenes like this. And I know sometimes we have to be careful when we're there's a tree in front of us. This was very, very deliberate. The sun is large. You'd never get that without a telephoto lens, and the nice color here. I just thought it was a nice shot, and just very creative to have an eye to see something like this.
Absolutely. And I would just say that this is a scene that it's really well done. I agree with Matt. It's that kind of framing that often escapes me. I'll be out with someone else and I'm going for the big grand landscape, and then I come back and look at images, especially my friend Eva, and I'll say, wow, where did you see all these little details that are so beautiful and simple? And that's a real art and a skill, and it's a neat eye. I love it. It would be great to see this with some exposure or some focus blending, and it's interesting. I'm actually just wrapping up a little video tutorial on exposure blending, and I think you'd capture this in 2 frames if you're using a tripod, and blend those two and have everything razor sharp from the sun to the leaves of the tree, and that would be this would be a great shot for that technique.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm with you, man. Last week when I was on my trip, I came back from a morning shoot, and there we were on top of this cliff shooting into the sun, and the waves were just going crazy, and there's just the curl over the waves, just the mist ripping, peeling off of the top and everything. And I'm taking this big wide shot, and one of the guys in the group took the zoomed in shot, and he got all these waves stacked against each
Mm.
other in the distance, a
And you're
mile
like,
away, but he
oh.
zoomed in. And I was so jealous because it ended up being just one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, you know.
Anyway,
It's speaking of having an eye for a scene that, I'm not sure I would notice as much. I love the way that this is just sort of a piece of the forest, a piece of this beautiful piece of architecture, and the way that they blend it works so well. And it also kind of violates our rule about getting out there at exactly the right time of day. This person's out there in later light, probably late morning, and the reflections on the glass are so beautiful. And I like the fact, there's not that much sky to worry about the sky just being kind of a blown out, washed out white. It's just peeking through the trees. But this really, showcases how you can blend man-made structures with nature in a way that's so appealing. And I really like how the weight of the architecture, those elevators or whatever they are on the right side there, just kind of stand out, and they're in just the right spot, running through the scene on the right, creating this kind of band and splitting the image, and the right third peels off there as a reflection. It's just really nicely composed and captured, and it's a great eye to notice it.
yeah, nice shot.
Oh yeah, here's another one. This is extremely creative. It looks to me as if you either shined a headlamp in there quickly or a flash fast while you're doing a long exposure star photo, and I give you great credit for thinking creatively that way. And there were just a couple notes I have. I noticed that you were using I think a 12 millimeter lens. I can't remember exactly on a full frame, and that just pointing out that you could go much longer than 10 seconds. You could probably go closer to 20 or 25 seconds and get a little bit more exposure, and you're photographing at 1600 ISO, and I think for these star photos ramping up to 3200 ISO, just getting a little more light, you can capture more than the eye can see of these stars. And then thinking about playing with that light, with the waves, in some different ways, maybe diffusing it a little bit so it's not quite as hot on the water as it comes up, and trying different times. It looks like maybe you photographed you've shined the light in there a couple times because one wave's kind of erupting and one wave's sort of coming down. But I really like the idea, and I think obviously when you're doing this, lots of exposures, lots of different timing with the light, maybe finding a way to diffuse it, either using one of those little LED camp lanterns to kind of softly shine some light into the scene, or bouncing a really bright little flashlight off a small diffuser into the scene. Just some different ways of making that light a little bit more even as it hits the subject that you're trying to quickly light in the long exposure. But great
Great
work
advice.
and good creative thinking.
Cool. All right, this is Second Beach on the Washington coastline. I've been to this exact spot. In fact, I took photos from nearly this exact spot. And, I wasn't there at the time of year. The sun was quite a bit over here when I was there. So I wasn't there to get the sun going through the arch. So really nice shot. Great color. You're there at the right time of day. Great eye to move around and get the sun and those rays coming through the arch. Nice post processing. Camera technique's good. Everything's good. My two comments was I was going to challenge you to. There's tide pools all over the place around here. There's rocks, and the tide comes in and then leaves these pools as it goes out around these rocks. So I was going to challenge you to find a little bit more of an interesting foreground to bring into here. The other thing is I hope you had a telephoto lens, because I'd love to see what a tightly cropped shot would look like over here as well. So maybe minimize some of the sky if you were shooting wider, but cropped in shot would look really nice too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to see that shot with a crazy, bunch of clouds and the sun streaming through. But
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
Zoom in
unfortunately.
if you don't. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Hudson and I have seen that enough times where we get out there and it's just clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple times where it's just socked in with fog too.
Yep. All right, this was another one of mine. I just, really nice shot. I wanted to bring this one up and just kind of call it out because, we got a person in there. So hats off to you for I don't know if you planned it or if you got out there and saw it, but great eye to see this. I know we're always looking for nice weather, but the ominous clouds and the waves in the background, you can see the turbulence there. I think really works well for this. And then, um, super just nice gesture over here. Like, I don't know what he's thinking, but to me, he's got a very thoughtful type of a pose, and he's looking out there like saying, "Do I really want to do this?" um, but just overall, really nice shot. Like the post processing, it's got a very muted, dark feel to it, and I think you went with that. You went with what you were given, and I think you did a great job.
I love the shot. I think it tells a story. If I think of this shot without the surfer looking out at the sea, it's nothing compared to what it is with
Oh
this
no,
person in the frame.
yeah.
And yeah, it tells a story. It makes you think, oh gosh, are you really going out there? It looks like it could be getting
Absolutely.
worse. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think the critique would have been anywhere near the same if he weren't in there. So it's one of those scenes that it works for.
No.
I think this one's in your group, Hudson.
It is, and I just think, way to capture a really intense moment in low light, I think your camera technique was fantastic. You've got just the right aperture to kind of pull the focus in on the action that's happening without losing any of the focus on them. You're working in low light. You've got a fast enough shutter speed to really freeze the action. I love the mud and the slop flying
Yeah.
up in the air. I think in this case, I'd like to see you crop in even a little bit tighter. Maybe keep just a little bit of that fence in the background, but lose those corner markers. Maybe crop just to the left, yeah, right in there. Because I don't think we need to see the track lit back there, and I might even desaturate it a little bit more and just pull the focus in on the action and what's happening. I think
Mhm.
filling the frame with the fascinating part of the scene, I would lose the right part of that frame a bit.
Good advice. Wow.
Yeah, isn't this one great? This is all about what we're talking about, being out there at the right time of day. This is, I don't, I'm guessing this is dawn because it looks like a day where the ice might come melting off unless it's just in this super, super cold country. I love the soft foreground cattails that really kind of anchor us in this scene, and the fact that they're in shadow, but we have all the detail in those shadows, and then they mirror those really beautiful ice-covered trees that are still in the shade in the background, and there's detail in the hills. You're in forest, and we've got this streak of light coming through on the water, and this one magnificently iced tree catching the first morning light that just stands out. And it's, your eye goes there, and then because of the way this is composed, you wander around the scene looking at all the details, but you always have that tree to come back and rest at. It's just in the right spot in the rule of thirds position. And this is about light composition and being out there in cold weather at the right time of day. And I just have to give a good shout out to this.
Nice shot. And I think the last one is actually just the a bird from before. So,
Perfect.
oh, go ahead, Hudson.
Oh no, I just a great set of images
Yeah, dude.
throughout the critique this time.
Seriously, like I said it in mine, and as I went through each one of my videos, I said it over and over again. Like, wow, like it's just they're making my job hard because I don't. It's not like I want to find something wrong, but I feel like I have to offer advice to people on improving. I think that's what people are looking for, and sometimes I'm looking at so many of these photos, and I'm like, just leave it the way it is. Just leave it the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So
great.
so awesome to see from all the Plus members out there. And big thanks to everybody for submitting your photos. We know it's not easy to do, but man, we're seeing the difference here. And just thanks for giving us the opportunity to review them with you. So big thanks from me, Hudson. Got anything final words here?
No, just keep getting out there and being in the good light. It's wonderful to see what you guys are doing, and it's really one of the joys of this whole coaching community.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining in with us, and we will talk to you again next time.